everyone. Siribat is back again with another episode. This time we are going to talk about, geography. Everybody knows that there's a lot of interesting insights geography always presents us. So you don't know if you're in Chennai, what is important of being in Chennai, and then again saying that Chennai adds to the GDP of India. It makes no direct sense, but there is some sense in that the geography is somewhat related, or maybe even more than what you think it is. So in that context, we have a very, you know, she's firstly a classmate of mine in the university, and also a very open-minded and a very broad-thinking person. And she's Miss Anandita Das. Welcome, Anandita. And also we have our co-host Lovepreet Kaur to give us, the fire, the questions to ask and all. And so, Anandita, over to you. Just introduce yourself and what you think about geography and economics. And yeah, we can start off with that.
Hello everyone, to all the viewers. First of all, thank you to Pawan and Lovepreet for inviting me and giving such warm introduction about me. So my dear friends, for me, geography is something for if we go around ask that what do you feel about is geography, most of the people's answers will be something about natural resources or economics or minerals and soils. But let me tell you that geography is much more than that. It includes all the aspects, all the spectrums of our learning. Firstly, it also not only does it involve soils and economics and resources and areas, it also involves the psychology, it also involves the mindsets of people, the society mindsets, the society, the history behind the regions, and also the economics region, and also plus the politics behind it, the border conflicts, everything. So basically we can say that, as I'm going to digress a bit for this. As we know that recently national education policy was all about bringing most of the subjects together, having a holistic learning. But I always felt that geography was always there, which equally combined all the subjects together. Because to know geography, you have to know a bit of every subject for understanding it. And I also feel that for to utilize geography of any place, any region, you need to have knowledge in every subject. Like this is special reference to my friend Lovepreet, because she's a Punjabi. As when we go into like I can let me start with psychology. Like whenever we go to Chandigarh, like okay, you're going to Chandigarh, people say okay, it's a very nice place, you are safe, people are very nice there, you have no problem there. Punjab is all about prosperity because it's already there in our minds, and Punjab has proved to us by its human resources, by having such hardworking people, and also by having its using its fertilizing soil. So I hope with this point I proved that geography is everything. It includes all spectrums of our learning.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I was not expecting this, but the indirect tarif that you did, tarif by the way is appreciation, that you did in between the episode made me so happy. And I just feel like flying away from the podcast right now. But no, we'll be here and we'll stay tuned because I am someone who never understood the importance of geography. To be very honest, I was the one person who used to hate social sciences when I was young, and I just used to learn the answers and write them down. That's it. But as I grew up, I've realized, how just like last time, Pavan, how the lawyer friend of yours told us that law is very important. Similarly, these aspects of geography, history, polity, all of these are very, very important, and somehow they are connected to your life, even if you are not a UPSC aspirant. That's something we all need to know. And for that, Anandita is here with us. By the way, Anandita, you didn't give your introduction to us. People are very keen to know about you. I'll give a small icebreaker here that Anandita has been a part of IMUN as the delegate of Sweden, and she has won the award for the delegate award at the IMUN, which means that she's a pretty good speaker and she has vast knowledge of whatever she's talking about. Rest, I think Anandita is going to tell us quickly now. What else have you done until now, Anandita? And then I'll put forward the next question.
Until now, first thing I have, this lockdown has been like really energy releaser. It has been a huge pressure releaser. So I have like learned a lot. And plus we have, and since we didn't have any pressure of learning from our subject, so we started exploring subject from our side. And since I'm an integrated student, so always we were taught that to view our subject from lenses of other subjects. Like we viewed economics from the lenses of political science, history, psychology. And let me tell you, I have huge fight with psychology students regarding kasab, okay? Because Kasab was, as you know, that we kept him alive for almost 5 years, and so much money was spent on him. I mean, for that, me and psychology friends, we had a lot of fight regarding this. Secondly, as we know that I have started, as you know, I'm unofficial ambassador of podcast also. I go promoting your stuff also, ensure that you get more and more subscribers, and when you all start get silver play, gold play button, I also get commission out of it.
We are exposed. Well, thank you so much for that, Anandita. Okay, so tell me one thing. The moment I talked to you for the first time and you proposed this topic, I was really ambiguous as to why did Anandita choose this topic? What is so significant about geography that it is so well connected to economic growth? I mean, giving this kind of a statement, you must have had your own analysis to it, your own points to it. So we just want to know, in a layman language, as to why everybody should have knowledge of geography and how is it so well connected to economic growth specifically.
First, for this, I will use just one example. As an economist, for economic growth, everyone has to be really happy. Everyone has to be really progressing. Everyone has to be economically secure, which does not mean just monetarily, also by being mentally and physically happy. Let me give just one example. As we know that most of the USSR countries like Turkmenistan, Iran are very rich in natural gas. And we know that they are mostly landlocked countries. I'm sure everyone knows that. But we usually import oil through the seaway. Let me tell you, in 2014, there was a pipeline proposed from Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India. But it couldn't take place because of our conflict with Pakistan. There was one more gas line to be constructed, IPI, Iran, Pakistan, India. But because of Pakistan, our issues with Pakistan, that pipelines could not be used. Firstly, as an economist, I will say that if you do from ground, if you connect the land gas pipeline, it's much more cheaper than the water by bringing it from sea. Second thing, such a small project, it's just one project, can bring together, can give employment, can give work for all the sectors of the society. Firstly, it is a huge work for the geologists, geophysicists, because they are the ones who will decide the gradients, how will the flow go of natural gas. Then we have the environmentalist and the scientists and economists who will do cost benefit analysis, and also without polluting anything else, without spoilage of natural gas. Then we also need biologists also who will tell that in case if something happens, how to protect them. Thirdly, we will need the society and sociologists and psychologists to tell that how will the society take this project, how will the people take, because as we know, this pipeline will also involve displacement of many people. And I must say, it will be a huge job for sociologists and psychologists to convince the people that please let the pipeline come, it won't harm, it's for the good of the country and many nations. And thirdly, the political scientists, they are really important. I mean, they will tell the prime minister, like, okay, they were the ones who told, please don't do this. You're already in conflict. Don't start doing all this. So as you've seen, such a small project can ensure progress of everyone. If we know from where to come, from how to come, and also to every sector, every skill set is being used here. Because we know that to keep a watch, even satellites are required in the sky.
That's a very elaborate view of the whole situation. I think this is the perfect example to understand how very small projects they involve all the like people from all the different stratas, all the different fields to come together, and most importantly, it requires you to have the knowledge of how you're going to plan it out geographically. Because I have been very enthusiastic about history in the last few days, and I've read a lot about how industrial revolution happened and how construction in India started, and all of it, some of the projects badly failed because there was no or very less understanding of geography in that point in that time, and because of which a lot of lives also devastated, a lot of people were homeless, and a lot of other issues happened which also impacted the political status of East India Company, of the British rule and stuff like that. So this is out of the topic, but what I mean to say is geography in general has a lot to do even with your normal life. Even if you want to implement a very small project today as an entrepreneur, you really need to know where, at what point, at what place specifically you'll get your raw materials, where setting up an industry would be beneficial for you, and where your market would be. I mean, what is your prospect audience or prospect consumers? Well, Pawan is sitting very quiet. I'm really surprised today. The economic student is quiet today. So any questions you have for
I'll make an
Anandita?
observation, then I'll ask a question. So Anandita, if you remember, and viewers, if you if you can go back to in time, you look at economic policies of mercantilists. The mercantilists essentially looked at where the raw material could be sourced, and the whole policy was you get gold from one country and you keep on getting gold, and then you accumulate gold, and that creates your wealth. But the geography part is mostly like you select the countries where you can get it from. So there's a geography aspect to it which actually can be modeled into a model of growth. So mercantilists, I believe, were the first ones to execute that kind of a model in the in the medieval ages, and then it comes down in the and since Anandita is also a student in the University of Hyderabad, and she has also taken up the course of land, and she's reading into land economics and all that. So I would ask her, what is the insight that you got from that particular course, and how is that linked to geographic and the geography economic model that you think about? And there's also the gravity model, right? So in these two, three aspects, what do you think about these, and do you think they work?
Pavan, this is such a trap. Just because she belongs to a university, you are asking her academic questions now.
Well, she is doing that course, so it makes all the more sense. Yeah, Ananta.
Okay, I will try to answer. Like regarding your mercantilism, first thing, I have one small point to add about India. We know that Andaman and Nicobar Islands right now they are like a bit isolated from the rest of the country. But let me say that Rajendra Chola, one of the greatest Chola dynasty rulers, I think he is one of the best rulers who used India's geography and everywhere very nicely. That we know for the two reasons, because we know that Andaman Nicobar were the place where the trading part, where goods would get exchanged, ships would get docked. So he knew that because that Andaman and Nicobar Island had perfect potential to become a shipyard. Secondly, we also know that he attacked the Sri Lankan army because they were monopolizing sea routes, which shows that at that point of time he understood the importance of sea routes very well. So not just during merchant, even during 14th, 13th century, our rulers understood very well.
Yeah,
And
this is
Pavan as a
almost like 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years
and
effectively.
and Pavan as a fellow Hyderabadi should also understand that the mission Kakatya, the tank irrigation, they made it possible because Hyderabad, the Deccan Plateau, it was very ideal for the tank irrigation. Now coming back to your question, as we have done a lot of urban models, and our sir PK Mohanty sir repeatedly says that we have not used our land properly, we have not used urban planning properly. So as we also told many models of economic geography, it is really important to know your geography around, because one of the classes he mentioned that sea facing flat. You know that we cannot construct high rise buildings near the sea because there will be huge danger in case of high tide, low tide. So for which, even for urban planning, even for land, we actually need to know the geography around us well. Because I'm just giving you a small example. When we are building our house, when we are constructing, we are making it such a portion where everything is available, where the gradient is quite good. We won't go construct our house on our hill and come, because we know it's at huge danger. So in that way, economic geography is really important for land planning also. And unless you know your area very well, you won't know, because I'm sure when metro started, we know that Bangalore and Hyderabad started metro rail together. But in Bangalore, it failed because the planning was not done well. We didn't have proper land, we didn't know proper resources. Since I have praised Lovepreet regarding Chandigarh, I think as a fellow Hyderabadi, I'm proud. Like, if you see, Hyderabad didn't have any of the advantage as such, like resources or water. I think it's the psychology here, because let me tell you, Lovepreet and Pawan, that in Hyderabad, so much development took place because people were ready to change, they were ready to accept. They already had psychology, that side they had it in the mindset that okay, we are always ready to move forward, because from beginning we have this flyers club in Begumpet, we had the Nizams ruling. So I think it's also how people are ready to adapt to the land changes, how they use the land, which is done very nicely in Hyderabad, because they know the geography, they know the neighbors from where they can get what.
Yes. And I appreciate that. I mean, I'll just take it because Hyderabad is my second home and my heart is still in Hyderabad, although I'm physically in Punjab. So, yes, Hyderabad's success in the last few years has been really, it's exemplary for everybody because it's something that I did not expect. Even when I was living there in 2 years of time, I saw so much happening. Situations changing and constructions happening, and the city suddenly becoming a completely, Wi-Fi supported, internet providing, and completely a total metropolitan city. Okay, Ananta has disappeared for a bit. I think she'll be back. Oh, we have you back. Okay, Anandita, since we've
I
done
just
a
hope
lot of,
you're enjoying the session, I hope.
yeah, of course. We are always enjoying all the sessions. You don't have to worry about that. Well, you were talking a lot about the psychology, as to how people were ready to adapt, and how psychology also affects how things take place and how progress happens. So, I mean, is it also related to the economic growth of any place or any country? How the people of that country think? Is it also connected with the growth, economic growth of that country?
Yes, it's obviously connected because first thing, if people do not have the will to grow, then there's nothing can stop them. How much ever the government pushes you, how much ever we give your good, how much ever the government gives incentives. Secondly, there are so many states in India which can show that how psychology is really important for development. I mean, like first thing when we come northeast, whatever comes to our mind, we say that okay, northeast is a complete country. It is like a complete world away from us. And I think unless they say that we are talking about new India, we have to integrate. That until and unless we start accepting them as our own and we start integrating with ourselves, they won't have this, anything of this won't be acceptable, and the growth will not take place. Because I was discussing with Pawan in the morning, everyone says that okay, Pakistan is fighting with for Kashmir because it's a Muslim dominated state, and why if it wants Kashmir. But let me tell you that people have that in their mind that okay, if Pakistan is fighting for Kashmir, like even now if I say about TAPI project to a layman, also to anyone I said okay, government is going to put TAPI or IPI, the minute they will hear that it's running through Pakistan, people have it in their mind that okay, Pakistan is going to like, the project won't be successful. Same is the case with when Chinese aggression took place. China people started burning their goods, they started throwing. So that clearly shows that psychology shows in the mind. And let me say, like today, the administrators, if they have to make some work do, they have to touch the, we in Hindi we say no dupti nas. You have to touch the pulse point of the people, then only you will get what the people actually want. Because same, because people have customs, people have the religion. For example, tomorrow if we say that okay, Vatican City is like, we are taking away wealth of Vatican City, or we can say that we are taking away the wealth of our this thing, you think people will keep quiet? No, right? You have to convince people to give away their wealth. Like I can tell you one example, really good example. Like there was one king, like as you know that Muhammad Ghazni didn't, there was no invasion for 100 years, right? Due to that invasion for 100 years, actually there was one king, Suhail Dev. He actually stopped that invasion. And you know, he literally, as you know, in Islam, they consider burning a body or burning by ashes, it's considered the most painful death. But he, one of the generals was like, you cannot kill me, you Indians are very honorable and all that. And already, so he was like, okay, he burnt the general's body, and then he sent those ashes along with his head to Ghaznavid, and he wrote the message that you come as devotees, we will welcome you, but you come as invaders, we will burn you. So you can see how psychology really helped, and it scared those invaders for more 100 years. I mean, even today in Punjab, you see that Punjab, if I say that, okay, you have the psychology, you know that everyone in Punjab works really hard. You're like, I mean, like, I'm telling you, really, I'm like, my English, if you say that you see anyone, you will never see a Punjabi begging. They're always very hardworking people. So I'm seriously saying that if I have to open some factory or a startup, I'm going to seriously hire first the Sikhs and the Parsis because they're always about development.
Okay, so the people of my state, my fellow youth leaders from Punjab, you have a good chance if you are planning to get a job. Miss Anandita Das is here to hire you. I really hope she successfully opens her she starts her entrepreneurship journey very very soon so that she can end up employing a lot of people.
Anandita, just a second. So I think you should. I'll let you complete that point on Kashmir and where Kashmir is actually appearing to be a religious problem, but it's actually a geography problem where there's a control of rivers and all that. Could you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, because today we are seeing that people are saying that Kashmir is being, they are fighting for Kashmir. But actually, many people, they don't notice it. Actually, Gujarat and Rajasthan are also share border with Pakistan. Even Punjab also shares border. But there is no conflict, no infiltration, no ceasefire violations. This actually made me think a lot. Then after some research and with some help from my teachers, they said that they want Kashmir because as we know that the 5 rivers, it starts from Kashmir. And if you get control of Kashmir, you get control of rivers. So that's the reason why people are I have started asking for Kashmir, because they want control of rivers of the Kashmir Valley. As we know, compared to Kashmir, Rajasthan and Gujarat are deserts. So obviously there is no use for them.
Yes, this point is actually observed in a film. It's called Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, the sixth movie or the fifth movie. I don't know if I'm not sure, but this is actually put in that movie. In that, towards the end, you get the whole idea that it's the control of rivers that matters to control anything else. So geography, in a way, is very very important, and take note of that. And love it, yeah.
This was such an important point. I mean, this is such a big takeaway for everybody who thinks that it's communal violence. It's not. It's something based, like, purely based on facts and on geography. Great. Okay. So Pavan, do you have any other questions for Anta? Because I think she has made all the points pretty clear from my
I
side.
think we have to like just observe what can be the possible gray areas or the problem points when it comes to connecting geography and models of growth, or in the sense, in a very layman term, how is economics and geography having a problem? If there is any, if there are any gray areas, what are they?
One more thing, as like obviously I came with many examples for this topic. As we know that China is trying to expand in all regions, it's trying to expand, it's trying to encroach Taiwan, it's trying to encroach Tibet, it's trying to encroach India, it's trying to encroach even Hong Kong also. There's a very significant geographical reason, and China is also using psychology. Because first thing, as we know, Tibet area is the glacier, and China needs the water rivers for the industries. So it's obvious that if it gets control of the autonomous region of Tibet, then it will start, the rivers will be of China, and other countries will, and it will block the access of other countries to those rivers, which also includes India. And as we know that Nepal is also shares that rivers very much, and Nepalis have very important significance of these rivers and of this mountain. So that's why China is using its psychology. Like, I don't want to be too offensive. Like 50, like almost for in 20th century, we had white man's burden to develop it. They felt it was white man's burden to control the country, but now I think it will be yellow man's burden or Chinese burden, because you see, when I even when I was doing my trade project, Thailand and Malaysia were like, they are actually becoming very politically unstable. At this point of time, most of the countries, they take their investments and run away. But China is offering them help. Come, I will help you. It's fine. No, I am there to take care of you in that way. And Hong Kong, China doesn't want to let it go because it's the entry port for China. Even China and Taiwan will be major shipyards for Chinese goods to travel. And as we know that over the years, Japan and South Korea are trying to stop control of China's South China Sea. Because in other words, you have seen that actually China has realized the importance of the region around itself and how to play with people's minds. That's the reason it has started with gaining control of the countries. And as for your model and for the gray areas, first thing there is like we have to connect, we have to make people aware. Like there's a very small incident, my school incident. When I was in 7th class, we used to get Atlas books. We used to get Atlas book from the school, course book. But after, by the time my sister is in 10th class, by the time my sister came to 7th, I'm sure, like you can bet, like you can ask my sister, say like, do you all know Atlas? Like, have you all ever opened the Atlas and have seen? So you, and we have, I was in ICC St. Anne's. I studied geography as a separate subject. Like we can even say that after 12th class, how many students even pursue geography very seriously, even though it's such a crucial part of our lives. So I think it's time we have to start teaching people from all the lenses how geography is really important for every student, every skill set to really succeed in your life. Like as we say that during lockdown, we see that the IT people didn't have any problem. They worked from home, they had everything. But here also geography actually plays a role. Like you're doing for all this, for what you're doing, IT, you're doing artificial intelligence, you're doing programming for your people, right? Unless you're in a proper place where there is proper net connection, proper Wi-Fi, you have access to all the resources like wires which come from outside India, like from Japan and all that. How will you do even your IT work or service sector will work?
I think that's a very valid set of point, and I'd also add that those who are not aware of, so it's like, okay, 10 minutes left, so I will try to quickly wrap it up. I'll just make one small point. So for those who do not know, if you look at the point below the Andaman and Nicobar Island, and there's something called the Malacca Strait, where
Yeah.
a lot of the maximum of Chinese trade passes through the sea trade, whatever you call it, through ships and everything. It passes through that area, and that is the most. That is, let's say, China's Achilles heel. So if you tap there, and if India goes and controls that port by levying some tax or anything of sorts, this would actually help India have a leverage over China's policies or any misadventures that they do. So in this way, you can see that just one more example that you have to know your geography around and use that to put more pressure on others, and then also control your own ways of growth and everything. So in a way, this is one significant example which I actually have to credit Mr. Dr. Subramanian Swamy for this, because he's been already or constantly saying that you have to control Malacca Strait, and many other defense people and defense analysts have been quoting this. So in a way, strategic strategically, you have to, there's a strategic aspect, there's a economic aspect, and the way to many aspects to geography, and that would be the point I'd like to make.
One more thing I want to say. As we say that because China, because and it has a psychological and this thing, as we know that Sri Lanka is a very very, very equivalent, very neutral type of country, because see what happened is recently, as we know that Sri Lanka is very near to the Malacca Strait. So point is that if you start controlling Sri Lanka, then you can, China gets more, it's more closer to gaining control Malacca Strait. So what is that? They have started bringing infrastructure in China. They are bringing investment in China. They have started playing the minds of Sri Lanka. Okay, come, we will invest. But on the other hand, India is also playing with the, it's not playing, it's using its emotions, because SAARC countries have this policy, neighborhood first. So they are telling Sri Lanka that we are first your neighbors, you have to listen to us. China is not doing well. I think over the time we have to see that which side wins, like which psychology does Sri Lanka, like whether it's neighborhood first or whether you want like investment of Sri Lanka. I think there's a huge use of mind plan. I think on the other hand, India and Sri Lanka have a bit of troubled history, because our late Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi died because of LTT, and many of the Tamilians died in Sri Lanka. So I think it's a huge, we can say that's actually a gray area, because Sri Lanka is yet to decide like where it will go, whether it will go for neighborhood first or whether it will take into account that it can get investment from China now at such times of crisis.
Yeah, great. I think these are really important insights that both Pavan and Anandita have shared with you, and they've left you with a few questions that you can ponder upon, and you can find answers to. It's not always about governing with you know governing like that. It's governing with strategies and policies, and that way you can make more meaning, you can convey more meaning, and probably you can add value to India's economy, India's well-being, India's social bonds and international relationships. So it's a broader perspective, and I really hope that you guys gain a lot from this episode. Although this was a very freewheeling episode, almost like we are talking to our friend, but and we actually are talking to our friend, but then I really hope you get some important insights from this. Go back and refer a few geography books, go back and look into what are the different landscapes in India, what are the different terrains, try to understand why a particular region is fit for a particular crop. You can probably start like that, why rice is specifically grown in south and why wheat is specifically grown in north. Something like this would actually stir your brain, and you can start your survey from right from there. Just like Anandita started from, why is the border of Kashmir only very is full of tension and not the other borders? This is a very legitimate question, and you have a very practical answer to it if you give a little thought. Instead of going with whatever you read on social media and whatever you listen from people. So yes, keep learning. Thank you so much, Anandita, for joining us. It was a wonderful session. You have given us your time. You have given us all the valuable insights that you have with you. We are truly thankful to you for adding value to our platform. And people like Anandita who are interested in any other subject or any particular topic and they really want to speak up, we are always open to you all. You can reach us out on Instagram. Our handle is CTPath2020, or you can reach us out on Pavan or my WhatsApp contact number. You can also email us and you can comment down below if you're really interested to be a part of this very little, resourceful family. I really hope you get a lot of insights. Thank you, Pavan, for being such a nice co-host and for being an economist at the end of the day. And I really hope that you guys will consider giving this a thought and will take geography a little more seriously than we are taking now. I've taken a huge lesson from this, and we shall take social sciences, what we call history, geography, and polity as three important aspects of our life. We'll read it not for any examination, but at least for basic knowledge and for better decisions to take in life. Right? So, with this, I think we'll wrap up. We'll see you in
I'll
the
just
next
add
episode.
one thing before it finally wraps up. Viewers, so if you're like really bored and you don't know which city is where and all, I'll just say one thing. Open Google Maps and check out the Indian map. Go to each district and see what it is, and you get a lot of insight just by the way of Google Earth or Google Map. And you'll trust me, you'll love it.
Absolutely. And if you're someone who's really fond of traveling, I think you should utilize this time to
That is the
search your
main
Google
point.
Maps, write down some locations, and as soon as the situation gets better, you should get going on the local buses and local trains and explore the beautiful India and the world eventually. So, yes, guys, keep yourself updated, keep learning about new things, and we hope we are helping you put that thought, seed that thought in your brain that you really need to consider all these things that usually go unseen in our life. Till the next episode, you please stay tuned with us. Subscribe to our channel, like this video, share it with those who really need to know all these things, especially with your UPSC friends and non UPSC friends as well, who are nowhere interested in knowing about geography. And yes, keep following us, keep stay tuned with us, get in touch with us on Instagram, and get in touch with Anandita on her Instagram handle as well. We'll share it in the description box below. You can follow Pavan's blogs and Anandita's work for knowing more about Indian culture and economy and geography and whatever, a whole lot of things. And we'll catch you very soon in the next episode. Till then, take care and be positive.